Welcome to Classic Car Cave. Couple of little points I wanted to bring up before I go into the second part of this decoking this head. You know, I'm obviously, you can tell by the way I look that I'm a retired man. I was lucky enough to retire at 55, so it's been some years. I'm 69 in March, so I you know, it might look, and I put these videos every day or sometimes a couple of weeks or whatever it is, but I only put them up when I'm actually doing something. So I only video when I'm actually doing something. I don't you know, I don't put them up to show this is the speed I'm doing it at. And obviously, being retired, it means I can come in and out of here whenever I want, because the house is literally across the road, and I can come straight into the garage, do a couple of hours and go back and have a cup of tea or have a sleep, lie down, whatever I want to do. So really, and Amir will be testament to this, normally in a day, normal day, I'll do, you know, a couple of hours, maybe 4 hours, and unless we're building something and we need to get on with it, then I might do a 6 or 7 hours, but it's not very often I do it these days. As I'm getting older, I can't hack doing that amount of hours and that amount of concentration. So I just wanted to put you in the picture. So I'm probably doing, you know, a couple of hours a day, something like that, depending on what I'm on. If things are going well, like everything, you crack on, and when things turn to shit, you think, walk away from it for a while. The other thing is I want to talk about was this tool that I bought in the NEC, this valve tool that I bought. To be honest, you can. The reason it's worth 20 quid is because that's about what it is. It's okay, it does the job. This Tommy bar is a bit of a pain because it's constantly falling out, but I don't want to nip one end of it where I have to keep taking it in and out. So I'm not sure quite what I'll do with that. I might just tape it up when I'm using it so it doesn't keep falling out. But it's a minor thing. It does work well. But one of the things that I should have said, you know, it's very difficult sometimes to remember everything or mention it in the video, otherwise it'd be massively long. But when you're doing these valves, one of the first things you should do, once you've got the head off, is actually take a socket. I mean, this is not a socket, but take a socket and put it over the end. I don't know if there's a socket here I can use, but anyway, get a socket that's big enough to go over the valve stem and over the collets, and just give it a tap all the way down. And what that will do is it will break the seal between the collets and the top, because what will happen is as they get built up, they jam together, and then if you're trying to use a tool like this, which is not that good a quality, you'll find it hard to break that that bond that it's got on it. So if you give it a quick tap on each valve and just push the collets down, and what it'll do is, hopefully you don't hit it too hard that you spring them out, but even so, just give them so they've got some movement. Once they've got that bit of movement on it, when you go to compress them, they'll come off a lot easier. And also, when you finish the job, when you finish putting everything back together and everything's clean, do it again and just give it a small tapping. And what that do is make sure that the collets are seated properly in the groove. I had a friend of mine mention the other day that he'd done a head job on a car, and when he went around and checked them all, one of the collets flew out, which obviously would be a disaster if that happened with the head back on, and you lost the collets and the valve dropped into the cylinder. It'd be, you know, you'd have to start all over again. So it's a good idea just to do that, just to break the initial force on them when you're first doing the head, to take it apart, and also when you get finished, just make sure everything's seated properly. When you're putting the paste on, you want to do the course first, and just basically pop it underneath the valve where the seat is, like that. And obviously what you want to do is not just grind it like this, which is, you can hear how rough that is, and it gets less and less noise. Pick it up and turn it 180 degrees or 90. if you just keep going backwards and forwards like that, you will get it all. But what you do as you turn it is you ensure that you're getting every little area. And you can hear now, that's virtually nothing. A bit more on it. A bit of a messy job. You hear how rough that is? And you constantly have to pull the valve up, just move it, pull the valve up until you got more, until you get more and more. And you'll see when you lift the valve out, you'll see how good the surface and what you're looking for. I'll bring the camera in and show you this, but you're looking for a full, from edge to edge, you're looking at a nice clean surface, and the same on the valve. What that's going to do then is give you a precision fit. So as the valves are only opening a very small amount, obviously. A mil or so, it's not in a mil, it's sort of half a mil. It's a very small movement between the inlet and the suction out the discharge. So yeah, the better that fit is, the more the tolerance fit that is, the better compression you're going to have, because obviously when the cylinder's on compression, both the valves are closed. The reason the inlets don't get so damaged obviously is because you're sucking the air and the fuel in. And when the power stroke happens, it's closed, and the exhaust is the only one that's open when it's exhausting. So the inlet's always flat, so you very rarely get a build-up. If there's a problem with the head, 90% of the time, at least, it will be the exhaust. Either the edge of the valve will burn, or possibly something wrong with the valve seat. And so you can actually have these valve seats changed from unleaded to leaded. From leaded to unleaded, and there's all kinds of things. You can have inserts done inside them, but like I say, you can hear, it's quite smooth now, but that doesn't mean it's done. Pick it back up. What you can do if you want is just take that residue off, put a bit more on, and it's quite a laborious job, this, I'm afraid. It's one of those things. It's one of those things that just has to be done. And it can go on and on and on like that. And then once you get a very nice even pattern, even wear, then you can go to the other side and put the fine on it, and that'll get it even better. It'll get the angles even closer. So the less gap there is, the less chance of build up and the less chance of damaging the valve edge. So that's really where you want to be with it. But it is quite a laborious task. But you can see I've cleaned the head up a bit, and I've checked the head's nice and flat with a straight edge, no problem. So I basically have to go through all of them. Now the exhaust will be the most difficult to do, or the longest to do. The inlets will take very little lapping in, because they're already in good condition, but the exhaust will all need to be done probably 2, 3, 4 times more than the inlet. You can see I've been grinding that exhaust valve, and you can see how it looks now on the side. It looks pretty good, but that's only the course. But if you look down inside the valve seat itself, you can see the grey pits there. And obviously that isn't good enough. It needs to be ground right down so that both those surfaces, this one here, hang on, let me do it like that, this one here and this one mate perfectly. I mean, obviously I haven't done the fine yet, but it's going to need a lot more coarse paste before that becomes so it's one piece. But you can see, I think you can, hopefully this is going to show up. Sorry about the camera work, but you can see the little dots around it, and that should be one surface. Whereas you can see on the, if I clean this, you can see on the inlet that you can see the massive comparison between the inlet there, seat, and the exhaust seat. So a lot of work to do, and as you can see here, the valves, you can see the condition that they're in. So I'm afraid there's many hours of work getting this done. I'll give it a basic surface off just to make sure it's right. It'll be even more polished than that. It doesn't need to be. The gasket will take up a massive amount of issues. And this is a composite gasket we're going to use on this, which are the best ones. But I just want to check everything is good. But again, this is quite poor, this seat. We'll see how the others are when I get through them all. Again, all the inlets are nice. They'll take very little lapping in, but the exhaust ones, it's a different story. So the next one will be when I've got them all done. As I say, it's going to take some hours tomorrow, and I'll put it up in the last part when I'm putting the head back together again. Hopefully everything's good. So on that note, for tonight, stay safe, keep the faith, enjoy your hobby.